used to try to brute force the basic authentication. And here is the separator for the position, and let's choose position 2. This is for password. User and you pass user 1 pass, user 2 pass, user 3 pass, user 4 pass. Okay, this no. So position 1 includes some potentials and separator is colon, and position 2 is passwords. But this need to be encoded in base 64, so we need to add encoding. We in payload processing we click add and we choose encode and base 64 encode and hit OK. But we here in payload encoding we don't need to perp to encode the column in the position 1, so we that will lead to duplicate encoding, so we'll not use this URL encode. Now we are set, we can start the attack. Here is a notice from perp that we are using free version, it has some limitation, so we hit OK. And here we see that he launched the attack. This is the payload and the status. Here 401 status that unauthorized, but here we can find 200. Okay, that means that the request is going through. So this is the request that broke the basic authentication. This is the credential we want, so we highlight it and let's convert it to normal text from base 64. And here we say we see that the username is user1 and the password is user1 pass. Okay. Let's now talk about what if the basic authentication was implemented in server configurations. Let me introduce you to two important files, htpasswd and htdigest. This file contains credentials for the basic authentication, so web server can use it to check the login. It can be in any location at the server, but in most cases it's in the same folder as the ht access. So first, let us see what is the structure for these two files. For htpasswd, every line represents a user, and the line consists of the user and colon and the password hashed in MD5 and iterated using Apache APR algorithm, which will repeat the MD5 around 1000 times. Regarding the htdigest, it's the same like htpasswd. Every line represents a user, but the line consists of a user and the colon and the realm and colon and the password hashed in MD5. Okay, let's have some examples to see how it works. We can use Apache tools to generate htpasswd and htdigest. So let's make a folder to test. Okay. We hit htpasswd -c for create file and then file name htpasswd and following with username. He will ask us for the password, so we will enter the password and we will enter again. Okay, now he created a new file htpasswd, so let's view the content of the file. Here we will find the username followed by the password in MD5 with APR algorithm. Now let's generate another file for htdigest. taxi for create, and his file name, followed by the realm actually, and the username. Okay. Now he asked for the password, so we add the password and password again. Let's view the contents. Here we find the username and the realm and the passwords in MD5. Okay. Now let's see how to attack this type of credentials. Actually, there is a lot of workarounds to grab these credentials, but the most obvious one, if the server is vulnerable for local file inclusion. So we used this vulnerability to access the sensitive data in credentials files. So let's see some examples. Okay, let's for now. Here some websites, and here we find that this website is vulnerable to local file inclusion attack, and the site is holding a protected area with basic authentication. Okay, so we know that this URL is vulnerable to local file inclusion, so we try to grab the credentials for the basic OS. We guess that it's in the same file, so we try. Here we are, we found it, and here is the content of the file. To decrypt this content of the file, you can use any tool, but my favorite tool is Jones Ripper. So if we create a new file and add the content of the hash here, and let's run Jones on the file. Okay, here we are. Okay, here we are. Jones decrypted the file, the hash file, and here is the username, and the password is KOKO123. Okay. Now let's have a talk about how to mitigate this type of attacks and how to use basic OS more secure and not be exposed to this type of attacks. First of all, and the most important, is use SSL. You can't make it through without using SSL. You are exposed. There is no strong hash used in basic authentication or direct authentication, so you must use SSL if you will use basic authentication. You must limit retries per username to avoid brute forcing attacks. You must force hard password rules to make it hard for decryption tools if the passwords or the credentials leaked in any mean. And lastly, don't protect single methods for the URL. Protect all methods. If you will protect a URL using basic auth, protect all methods for this URL. Don't protect methods and make another method open. This will lead to an attack. Okay, that's all for